What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and this is Movies with Pride. Call Me by Your Name. Celebrating Pride Month. Not only am I blind, but I'm also an LGBTQ film critic. So merging those two things together for the month of June. This is actually at least my second time seeing Call Me by Your Name. I have seen this movie before. I don't have an existing review of it on my channel, however. So here we go. Down the road, click like and subscribe and join my cult following here on YouTube, where my dreams and aspirations are to be able to sell you merch. I don't know. Anyway, so Call Me by Your Name is adapted from a novel. It's a Merchant Ivory production, which is interesting. So it's written by James Ivory, who also contributes to the score. And it's directed by Luca Guadagnino. It's an Academy Award nominated movie, notably for lead actor Timothee Chalamet's performance. And sadly not supporting actors Michael Stuhlbarg or Armie Hammer. So yeah, I put Michael above Armie because when I say sadly, I kind of mean more Michael than Armie. Although I'm trying to tackle Call Me by Your Name just as Call Me by Your Name right now, not Call Me by Your Name, oh fuck, Armie Hammer's in this movie. So for right now, we're just gonna live in a make-believe world where Armie Hammer is just a guy who's in this movie. He's just playing a role. Separation. So that's disassociation from. Anyway, so Call Me by Your Name wasn't my favorite film when it first came out, and then rewatching it again, I'll admit it's still not my favorite movie, like, of all time, but there is something here. There's a patience about Luca Guadagnino's direction that he takes with the story and with the time and the exploration. He's not so much interested in directing the typical, like, quote, gay romance as he is directing a coming of age story. So we spent a lot of time with Elio, played by Chalamet, as he sort of discovers the world, not just his own sexuality, because arguably he does have sex with girls in this movie. So he's discovering a lot of different things about himself. He's spending this time over in Italy with his parents, and he ends up, his dad has this assistant, Oliver, who's there, and I think that's when he really realizes that there's a part of him that hasn't yet been discovered. It's been easy for him as a charming, attractive young man to be able to bed women, but there's something about Oliver that's alluring to him uniquely, and they begin this sort of will they, won't they relationship that dictates the direction of the film, eventually becoming a oh they did. And but then trouble arises when Elio decides to cheat on Oliver with a peach. I'm kidding, but yeah, everybody remembers the peach scene. You know, what I think about the peach scene is, and I feel like, I was like, do I say this in a review? Because I feel like people are going to be like, oh, he's fucked a peach before. That's not what I mean. But I think, like, the peach thing represents sort of exploration, like sexual exploration, in a way that I think probably a lot of people have done before, where a lot of men have tried to fuck something that probably we don't need to be fucking or shouldn't fuck. This is not a new thing, by the way. And the reason why I decided to say it, so people are like, oh my God, he's fucked a peach before. I have not. We had American Pie 26 years ago. So 26 years ago, somebody was like, whoa, what if we put a guy fucking a pie up there? That would be fun and interesting, wouldn't it? Sure, let's do that. So we have already, but that was for comedic effect. So, I mean, it's been in people's minds, notably before. There's a whole movie about it that we titled American Pie. in the franchise that bore from the idea of what if. So yeah, I think that's what it is more about. It's less about the actual peach than it is the the general youth and being like, oh, I could do that, I could try that, oh, what would happen if I did that. So it shows still sort of the youthfulness to him, because sometimes he feels like he's wise beyond his years. He's playing piano, and you forget that he's younger. You forget how much younger than Oliver he actually is, because he's intelligent. He holds his own conversations. He doesn't act like a spoiled child all the time. So one of the greatest ways to show him is still to show him sort of in that exploratory coming of age way, which is unfortunate for that peach, but it's a nice representation through James Ivory's script as to how he wants to show Elio exploring a person, which in turn does not turn off Oliver when he sees the peach. He kind of thinks it's cute and funny. And so there are a lot of moments in this that work, but obviously the one that works the most, which is really funny. I'm like, I don't know if this is a romance movie. I mean, it's a movie about a lot of ideas, but Michael Stuhlbarg's playing the father, playing the professor at the end, his monologue is like one for the ages. His monologue is so good, I think it almost got him an Oscar nomination, because he's really not in a profound amount of the movie. But he does have a real impact at the end of the film. And his conversation with Elio, who is on the sort of the edge of the relationship with Oliver, is that, he himself could have had that opportunity and just never went for it. That he's basically telling Elio, I have had the same thoughts that you have had, but something always stood in the way. And there's sort of this heteronormative structure that probably affected him a lot more and affects Elio less, because when you have a sympathetic father like that who sees himself in you, then I guess, and he's not afraid of it either. That's the thing, is because he's been able to live his life, and he got married and had a kid, and he's a successful professor or anything like that. It's not like his life collapsed and fell apart. So he's like, don't follow in my footsteps, boy. We get those. So this whole movie avoids having sort of homophobia being the reason for any, strife in this relationship. It's more about distance and time, and how eventually there will be distance, and there's a limited amount of time that these two can explore. There are so many things, so many movies that we've had about sort of these little like romance blips where we have like a before sunrise, and it's just two people who meet at this one place in time, and they have this great experience, and then they go about their separate lives. And it's kind of about seeing that and exploring that. And this is just this one great summer romance that will always be remembered by Elio and Oliver, no matter where they go with their direction. So obviously we learned from Oliver's phone call that he's leaning more towards following Elio's father's footsteps and sort of becoming heteronormative and getting married and probably having kids and going on to do those things. It's my understanding, I haven't read the books, but it's my understanding that in the books he comes back to Elio. So they're not done, but we didn't get Call Me By Your Name too. And I think that's fine, because I think just because you write sequels to things doesn't necessarily mean we need to explore them. There's something about the way that we leave Elio, and there's something about the way that his father's monologue is written that really sort of sends a message of take things as they come right now, live in the moment, don't be afraid to do so. We have he says something about Elio's youth, and he's like, you know, one day you won't, you will get to a point where people uh, no longer see you, you know, your body, whatever. So and so he also talks about like our heart and how we give so much of our heart, and then by like 30 we don't really have much left to give. So we have to be more careful with that, about giving our heart away. It's such a beautiful speech, and I think it actually summarizes the movie. So in case you're watching it and you're like, "What is this movie about? Is this a?" It is, but it's not. Like it is, and it's not at the same time. It fully defines Spielberg's character, bringing it back around. Really defines this as a coming of age moment. Like different words structured, and then changing Oliver to a woman would have made relatively a seemingly similar, meaningful conversation to a son about broken hearts and love, summer love, and all those kind of things. Like you could have slightly altered the movie to, it wouldn't be necessarily as impactful because we have so many of those. We have so many of the others. So it's nice to have a film where you know, they're not trying to be broken up by society. Society's not railing against them. You know, there isn't some villain character lurking in the background who's like, I hate queers. Nothing like that. It just allows itself to flow. I think the music is gorgeous. Um, and Luca Guadagnino's direction is lingering, if I can say that. I think the way that he holds on moments and he builds the space, I think is really nice. I think we spend a lot of time in shots and in moments. It creates for a film that feels longer than it needs to be, but at the same time, as you rewatch it, you realize what he's doing is he's just building like a richness for the environment. He's spending more time in it. Luca doesn't feel the need to put the film on a fast pace. He wants it to feel like you know, that we're exploring this thing, because he's going to take it away from you. So if you shorten the film, then the relationship just becomes shorter and you spend less time with these two, and it has less meaning because it feels like we weren't with them for very long, so it didn't really mean anything. So sort of filling out this film and filling out the relationship and filling out these connections that they have, both missed and not. All of this shapes the film, so you can find find what he's trying to put out to the world about being young, in love, and then reminding that, you know, you'll still have more ahead of you. So there's a lot to say, and I appreciate it more the second time around, which I don't usually. I mean, every once in a while a film will go up for me. There are a couple times, notably, where a film was even leapt for me the second time around. I remember the first time I saw Moulin Rouge and I was like, what is this? It was like an assault on my senses. And then once you just, it was my first time ever seeing Baz Luhrmann do anything. And I came back around to it and I was like, oh, okay. Whew, okay, so we're good now. I understand. I can follow the plot and the story of this movie. But certainly it was very much, it felt like style over anything. It made me try to go back and watch Romeo and Juliet, and I still can't watch that movie. I still hate that movie. But I did appreciate Moulin Rouge. So, yeah, it's definitely Luca's foray into thoughtful filmmaking. It feels like he's in Italy, so he wants to make a film that Italian filmmakers would have appreciated. So he's trying to represent that time. There's like a stark difference between this and Challengers. So I know he's been influenced a lot by Bernardo Bertolucci, and Yeah, so I like the score, I like the music that's chosen here. The performances are good. If I had to go back, I think I would give Stuhlbarg the nomination over Hammer. It's not that I think Armie's fine, but Armie, we never really get to explore his emotions on a deeper level because we're so busy investing in Elio's that Armie Hammer just kind of becomes his Oliver is just sort of like passing through, and we don't ever really plunge the depth of Oliver emotionally at all. So when we get to hear Elio's father speak, it's like it's another character that has some sort of resonance to it. So I can kind of understand why Armie Hammer didn't get the supporting actor nomination, even though it feels like it's their movie. It actually would have made more sense for Michael to get the nomination because what he has is more emotionally impactful and uh, meaningful in the long run. So in terms of audio description, I think it's written really, really well. It's done by the Media Access Group. Um, and it's either Inger Tudor or Claudia Dunn. I didn't pick up on the name. One of the cool things about the audio description is that it goes all the way into the end because Luca runs the credits over Elio sobbing at the end of the movie. And so there's stuff to describe. So not only do we get credits, but we also get like description of what Elio is doing. I think his mom walked into frame at some point. So um, it's like the movie never ends until it actually drops. He wants you to sit with it. He wants you to linger. It's such an interesting thing because a lot of times every other film just sort of cuts to black and credits roll, and then it almost uh like it's like everybody else has accepted the fact that most of the people are going to leave during the credits, but Guadagnino actually like challenges us to stay through the credits and to be there with Elio and to not leave him in his moment of it's a really, I think it's an interesting choice anyway, because we don't have that many movies that actually have real things in terms of the movie happening in the credits. Sometimes we have, like weird sort of like images and stuff and stills from the movie being shown or outtakes or it's the movie. This is just Elio and he's still crying, just still upset. So, um, I so the thought that I had about the audio description has nothing to do with the writing. I was thinking about the sensuality of the movie and what this, because that's really what this movie is. He's trying to bring sort of this more than like a romance, just like a sensuality, like a need, a desire out of it. And because the film does lean in a certain direction, I kind of wonder if having female audio description narrators is right, because I was thinking like the text here is very um it's really well written, and it talks about like a lot of the physicality and makes sure to describe it embraces the sensuality, the sexuality, whatever of the film, with revealing somebody's butt or making sure, sort of like highlighting when somebody has their shirt off in sort of an attractive way. Uh, it does all the things that it needs to do to kind of build this connection. But if you're supposed to fall in love with two guys, and it's probably going to be a lot of guys, and the thing I was thinking, like, does the female voice put us at arm's length? Is it possible that that keeps us from connecting? And I've tried to think about like other examples, but I don't have many. Because I think the last film that I thought of that was like this was Queer, which had a male audio description narrator. So I was thinking, okay, so for Queer, we paired it up with a guy, and I didn't have a problem with that. And it didn't strike me, and I wasn't like, oh my God, what is this? So, even Challengers, which I didn't think that was that sexy, was a guy. Um, and, but then I think about like Bridgerton, and that's, while it has sort of both sides of the relationship, because it does have sort of heterosexual and homosexual relationships within the show. It is also narrated by a woman, and that is going to be largely watched by women who are watching these hot, steamy romances between man and a woman. So should that be a man? And I'm thinking, because I think audio description should always work to enhance and support the project the best that it can. So sometimes it means, for lack of a better term, if the project is horny, how do we best help that? If the project is sexual or sensual in nature, does voice casting matter in terms of the perceived target demographic for the film? Because it's not like having a female narrator here for this scene would inherently help guys, for example. I don't know that that's the voice, that if we're reading an audiobook or something like that that has some romance, I don't know that those books resonate as much when they're read by women as when they're read by men. So it made me think. I don't necessarily have an answer for that, because I don't think it's a one size fits all situation. But it did make me think about just the relationship between Luca's other film that was just released last year, because it was fresh in my mind, Queer, which I've already seen twice, and that was a male narrator, and this is a female narrator. And I was like, what's the difference between these two films, other than the fact that Queer is even hornier? Probably. I mean, it's definitely less afraid to go there, so to speak. But the difference is also narrator choice. And is it possible that maybe the first time I watched Call Me By Your Name, that I wasn't quite as pulled in because of the choice? And it took me the second time around to sort of appreciate this. I think I might have seen this. This might be my third time, because that Michael Stuhlbarg speech, I think I didn't quite pick up on all the nuances, and I think enough people talked about it, I went and watched it a second time. So I think this might be my third time, but watching two of them like almost back to back, and then waiting this came out in 2018, so waiting like 7 years to watch it again, or it's at least 6. It's kind of hard that when you have those two watches that you feel like years from now, I won't remember that I watched Queer twice within like a 2-3 month span during award season. So I think I've seen this 3 times because of Michael's speech. But there's something about it now that I'm sitting and looking on it, and it's like, well, I remember this movie. I want to talk about it. I want to talk about it for Pride Month, because it makes sense. It's a film we talk about. I do still think the call me by your name and I'll call you by mine, I think that's silly, but whatever. It's not nearly as sexy as the film or the writer actually thinks it is. It's whatever. I mean, I know people have pet names for each other and stuff like that, but that's the weirdest way to do it. I don't want to do that. I would have such a hard time even dating somebody with my name. Having to say that all the time to somebody else. If I dated another John, I'd be like, oh my, I have to say my name out loud all the time. I don't want to do that. Seems like such a little detail, but I don't want to date myself. So, these are the little things, the little tiny tidbit things that you start nitpicking the more you see movies. And I just had that thought about audio description. I was like, should it be male voice? There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, is there a way to make it better? Was the question that we should always be asking ourselves, is what could we do to continue to make it better? Because in a world where audio description is constantly being, we're headed more and more towards text-to-speech permeating because of AI, because of the use of AI, and everybody really wants to use AI. They're just chomping at the bit. So the best way to continue to use human narrators is to always think about the best way to cast them. you have to think about casting them. It's not just hiring your friends. It's not just hiring the same like 3 narrators that are in your stable of narrators. You actually need to look out from beyond your horizon and start picking the right narrator. You actually have to start looking at the audio description narrators as sort of like a group, a body of people. And it doesn't matter if you worked with them before or not, or if you like them as human beings and you want to give them work. It's like, who can best do this work for you? And also who's available. But I mean, like, who's willing to, like those kind of things, like who will do the job, who's best for it, those kind of things, which is what real casting is who shows up, who auditions for the role, who's reading for the role, who's right for the role. So in this case, I think I would at least like to hear it with a male voice to try to figure out the difference, because I think there's a possibility that voice could make a difference. Anyway, Call Me by Your Name. I think I probably would have given like a B+ before. I'm going to give it an A- now. I do actually think I like it a little bit more. And I'm a little bit more like okay with all of its like awards praise. And before I was like sort of on the edge with it. I was like, I don't know that I need it to be, it's not really a best picture. Chalamet is okay. You know, if this is my second or third time through, I really appreciate it more. And I definitely think Michael Stuhlbarg probably lost out on a nomination that he earned for this film as well. His work is exceptional. I love the score. The score is beautiful. I'm sure this film looks gorgeous. Unfortunately, it was after I started losing my vision, so I don't know how beautiful the film looks, but it feels like one of those films that if Luca didn't make this film look great, he probably just wouldn't be directing film again. It feels like a film that almost directs itself in terms of beauty. So the fact that the film is so well regarded as it is must mean that the cinematography is on point and, you know, production design, all those kind of things. So I'm sure the visual elements are stunning. Sound design is excellent. You know, when you're out there on that lake and you can hear the little insects and everything like that, it just adds to the whole environment of everything. So there's a lot to love about this movie. A couple things that I don't love so much, notably the actual title of the movie. I still can't take it seriously. I know like that's like the crux of the movie is that we have to be able to call me by your name. I'm like, I just don't, there's nothing attractive that I find about that. And it's always going to put me at just a little bit of distance because like I said, I don't even think I would date somebody named John. I feel like I can't do it. Can we call you something else? You know, do you have a nickname? So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing and I'll see you guys on the other side.